Good morning. Thank you for joining us. The Lee County Commissioners Board of Zoning hearing is December 3rd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Staff, present the first case.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. For the record, I'm Adam Mendez, Principal Planner with the Community Development and Zoning Section, here to present the first case before you. That is the Singletary CPD Project, DCI 2024-00043. Subject property is located just east of State Road 31 and north of Old Rodeo Drive in proximity to the Mike Greenwell Regional Park. Subject property is located in the outlying suburban future land use category, is currently zoned agricultural AG2. The property is also located in the North Olga Community Plan area. The request is to rezone the subject property from the agricultural district to commercial plan development, which would allow a maximum of 210,000 square feet of commercial floor area, not to exceed 45 feet. The master concept plan here shows the general site layout, including the future realignment of State Road 31. The hearing examiner's recommendation for this case is approval with conditions, and there were no hearing participants of record. Happy to address any questions the board may have.
Any questions for staff at this time? Would the applicant wish to address the board for a motion?
Good morning, Tina Eklab with Sage Entitlements. We do have a brief presentation should you desire. Otherwise, we're happy to allow you for your discussion and motion.
Okay. Any discussion or motion or
I wouldn't mind hearing the presentation.
Okay.
You said it. You have a presentation?
Sure. A very brief one.
But then that won't take long.
Okay. So I think Mr. Mendez went through all of the highlights. The property here is located on State Road 31. It's currently utilized for single-family residence with agricultural exemption. The property will have about 3 acres taken for the widening of State Road 31, and as a result of the expansion of commercial uses along this corridor, the property owner is requesting a commercial plan development with a variety of commercial uses. The master concept plan does have a central utility connection either through Lee County Utilities or FGUA. We are exceeding the minimum open space requirements, and we do not have any deviations from the North Olga Community Plan. We do have a few deviations regarding setbacks and alignment with FDOT standards for a single access roadway. All of those have been recommended for approval by staff as well as the hearing examiner. We have no objections to the conditions that were provided. Our entire team is here should you have any questions about the water quality management plan, expansion of State Road 31 right-of-way, et cetera. But generally, that is the overview. And again, we are in agreement with the hearing examiner and staff report on this one.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the?
No.
Okay, at this time, we entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval subject to conditions and deviations.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Objection? No, thank you. Thank you for the participants. Thank you for the family. Next case.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Roberts with Lee County Community Development. This is DCI 2023-47. It's a request to amend the existing RPD CPD to rezone the western 15.76 acres of Tract M from residential plan development to commercial plan development. The property is currently in the suburban and wetlands future land use category. It is currently zoned RPD. The request is to rezone to CPD. There were 5 participants of record. The hearing examiner recommended approval subject to conditions and deviations. This is the master concept plan layout, and staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Good. Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. With this time, we'll call the participants record. Joyce Capano.
Good morning. My name is Joyce Campana. I live in District 2 of Lee County. I attended the March HEX meeting and asked 3 questions concerning 2020 conservation land, flood standards, and the use of taxpayer dollars. At the hearing, the project's attorney, Mr. Aiken, assured the hearing examiner there were no 2020 lands involved. There is 2020 conservation land that abuts the south side of the site. I would like to see approval contingent upon written stipulations that these conservation lands will not be used for any further development associated with this project in the future. Number 2, Attorney Atkin also confirmed the project would comply with FEMA requirements and acknowledged the existence of flooding issues associated with the site. It should be stipulated in writing that Lee County will not provide future funds when this site floods. 3, during the HEX meeting, I asked questions about funding sources and whether taxpayer dollars would be used in this project. I was directed to ask that question of this commission. When I tried to find some information out online about Homefront Heroes and their IRS forms 990 that are filed, the most recent I found was 2023. I found it interesting that it indicated the home address for Homefront Heroes as the Lee County Sheriff's Department and addressed IRS forms to Anne Marie Reno and the LCSO employee. Why is this taxpayer-funded Lee County Sheriff's Department operating as the headquarters for Homefront Heroes? Does all funding for this project come from Homefront Heroes donations? Are there any tax dollars involved either now or in the future for maintenance, operations, insurance, or loan underwriting? Is the County Sheriff's Department donating taxpayer dollars to this project? What are the funding sources? Who's spearheading and supporting the project? And who ultimately benefits from this project? It isn't the taxpayers. Thank you.
Next speaker is Don Kurtz, K-R-U-T-Z. Beth Russo. Tom Ward. Kirk Woodbury. And that's the last participant. We'll come back to the board for a motion. Any discussion or any questions for staff?
Are we going to hear from the applicant, Mr. Chair?
Okay, applicant.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For your record, Richard Aiken of Henderson Franklin on behalf of the applicant. To address the questions that were raised here, so first of all, with regard to the 2020 lands, there are adjacent 2020 lands. The property in question is not owned by Lee County. It's not part of the Conservation 2020 program. Certainly, Lee County, to my knowledge, would have no indication that it would take the 2020 lands out and make it part of this project. So while I understand the question, it doesn't have any bearing on this rezoning, and the 2020 lands have nothing to do with that. We do have appropriate buffers with regard to the Eagle's Nest, which is off in the distance, and with regard to the adjacent 2020 lands. A question about the flood standards with FEMA. I'm not sure there's any acknowledgement that the property is flooded. There is no development currently on the property. It's a vacant piece of property. With the exception of the very northern piece, there is a boat ramp existing up there. So there's not really any structures on the property. When this property is ultimately developed and there's a building placed on it, the FEMA regulations at the time will have to be followed. They may change. They've changed recently, so it depends on when it gets developed. The final question with regard to funding is, this is Homefront Heroes is a private not-for-profit entity. It is funded through donations. It's not funded from taxpayer dollars. Dan Cody is here to talk about that. He's on the Homefront Heroes board. They have a board. Some of those members overlap with some of the others in the Sheriff's Department. But this is a private not-for-profit. It's not coming from publicly funded dollars. And it is planned to actually support youth programming and other programming for veterans and others that need it. As you can see from the schedule of uses, the recreation portions of that, the fact that there's this marina here, which gives the possibility for Homefront Heroes to use it in connection with educational purposes, things of that nature, is there. So the answer is no, there's no publicly funded dollars that are part of this project. If there are other questions that you have of me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions regarding the zoning before us today?
You know, the only thing I would also, you know, it's in the record, but would love to hear, put on the record too, just verbally, is this site already has entitlements to, that are approved on the property. What could be what could be built there now based on its current approvals?
So right now, the existing zoning allows up to 200 dwelling units, which is a combination of single-family and multiple-family, single-family attached and detached homes. So we're decreasing that substantially, right? Because what we're actually asking for here is a maximum of 46,000 square feet of commercial uses and 2 caretakers' residences. So we're going from 200 residences down to 46,000 square feet with some other outdoor recreation. So it's a substantial reduction ultimately in the development that could take place as far as the impact on the property.
Okay.
Wasn't there also entitlements for 46 or 56 boat slips that are reduced to significantly as well?
Correct. So the marina that you see, I can use the mouse and actually help you out instead of pointing here. This right here, this marina has the ability for, and I don't have the number in front of me, but you're correct, Commissioner, it's a very large number, 40 some odd, 50 some odd boat slips that could be used there. As part of the prior rezoning, and we're further clarifying it as part of this zoning, those slips are going to be reduced to 10, I believe it is correct, Stacy. I'll make sure I don't give you a wrong number. Reduced to 10, right? And so that's both wet and dry slips. So the number of slips that could be used in this marina are significantly reduced as part of this rezoning and the conservation easement that's being placed, and that's a condition of the rezoning that the conservation amendment reflect that.
No, you don't often see people reducing their number of available slips and intensity, so I think it's very good that you put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Yeah, I appreciate your explanation about the nonprofit, but I further would like to have a board member, if I can, just put on the record exactly how this nonprofit works, so there's no discrepancy or no uncertainty that this is from taxpayer dollars.
Understand, sir. Mr. Cody's here, and I'll ask him to come up and do that.
I appreciate that very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Daniel Cody. I'm representative and vice president of Homefront Heroes. Ask away. What would you like to know?
So honestly, just for the record, there was certainly a participant that indicated there might be some concern about taxpayer dollars. Can you explain a little bit about the nonprofit, that's there, the type of money that comes in, and how you're going to address the issues?
Absolutely.
I just want to clarify for the record so there's no inconsistencies and no uncertainty that there's any taxpayer dollars in this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. I appreciate the opportunity to explain that. The charity was formed several years ago as a way of being able to take donations from the community and be able to provide opportunities for different opportunities for different, I don't want to say types of people, but kids who are, maybe don't have the resources that they would like as far as sporting events, doing things that were enriching their lives. We also considered veterans, assisting veterans in support. We have functions that we perform for veteran services. We make donations to different organizations as well. And as far as this massive project that we're undertaking, several years ago, we were the very fortunate recipients of this property being donated to us. The donors very generously provided this along with some funding as well to get the zoning taken care of and some of the kind of kickoff expenses, for lack of a better term. The agreement was that we would take this property on, as long as we continue to carry out their vision of using it for the benefit of children and youth in the community, which is exactly what we're doing. There is no taxpayer money coming into our charity whatsoever. I don't handle the books, so I can't really speak to numbers and stuff like that. We can, of course, provide that. The majority of the funds that we have at this point came from the original donor. We do have discussions that we're starting once we get through this process as far as how we're going to pay for this, and it's all going to be donations and stuff like that. But there's nothing that's coming in from the tax dollars. None of our members are paid in any way. It's separate. Although, yes, I do work for the Sheriff's Office, some of my own personal time right now. It's all donated time and efforts.
I appreciate your explanation. I just want clarity for the record. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, based on the evidence and the hearing examiner's recommendation, I'll go ahead and move approval of the hearing examiner's recommendation, subject to conditions and deviations.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Wayne, any other discussion? Any objections? No objection, motion carries. Thank you. Next case.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Swindle at the County Attorney's Office. The purpose of this particular hearing today is to request that DCI 2023-00011, Southeast Water Reclamation Facility, be remanded back to the hearing examiner in order to address legal inconsistencies identified by the Circuit Court in its order dated October 25th, 2025. As you may recall, this was a county-initiated rezoning of county property located at 18940 Green Meadow Road to allow construction of a water treatment facility. The case went through the normal rezoning process, including a hearing in front of the hearing examiner who recommended approval. The board approved the rezoning and a petition for a writ of cert was filed. The Circuit Court granted that petition, which has the effect of quashing the board's prior action approving the rezoning. The order identified 3 specific legal inconsistencies that I will just read for the record. The first is the Circuit Court found that it was improper to refer to past board action as a basis for approval of the rezoning application, as such direction is outside of the record. Approval of a rezoning must be based solely on the competent substantial evidence within the record. The second issue the court found was that previous board actions, such as purchasing land, initiating a prior rezoning, entering into a Kingston settlement, demonstrated prejudice and bias for a predetermined outcome. Legislative actions taken by previous boards do not mandate approval in a quasi-judicial rezoning. In approving its own rezoning application, the board must separate these 2 separate functions, and approval must be based solely on competent substantial evidence on the record. The final issue was the Circuit Court found that the county had failed to comply with FAA advisory circular requirements, and that the most restrictive versions of those circulars should have been considered. The Land Development Code incorporates very specific FAA circulars, 150-5300 and 150-5200. The circular cited by the courts is not one of those that has been adopted. Furthermore, the FAA advisory circulars are guidance documents and non-binding by their very nature. So we would ask that the hearing examiner review these FAA advisory circulars and make very specific findings as to their applicability to the rezoning. So the motion we are requesting from the board today is to remand DCI 2023-00011 to the hearing examiner to conduct an evidentiary hearing on January 15th, 2026, limited solely to the 3 issues I have just identified. Once these issues have been addressed by the hearing examiner, staff will bring the case back to the board for further action.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. We have 5 participants to the record. First speaker is Marcia Ellis. You're going after Marcia Julia Lambert.
Thank you. I'm going to take care of my new evidence, which is submitted as hard copy for each of the commissioners, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've already provided a set to the clerk, and then I provided one to staff over here, but also to the applicant, which is also the staff.
You can start the clock.
No, hold on just a second. I also have let me see, I need to get out of this. Escape. Good morning. My name is Marcia Ellis, and I live at 17850 DeVore Lane in Fort Myers in unincorporated Lee County, approximately 4,000 feet away from this proposed facility on the flowway that runs alongside of it. I'm reaffirming and bringing forward my own prior testimony and comments in the prior testimony and the written documents of all participants from DCI 2023-00011 at the HEX and the BoCC and DCI 2018 2023 hearings on this matter. I'm in agreement with and adopting and bringing forward the spoken written testimony and evidence opposing this matter given by myself and by others in public hearings, meetings, rezonings, rehearings, or other deliberations given in the past and given today, and I'm adopting this and bringing it forward for consideration. I am a petitioner in case number 24-CA1479. I have submitted this new evidence on the record that displays and shows to you the changes of the subject site property since October 25th, 2025, when the judicial ruling granted the quashing of this facility, so that you can see the changes on this facility over time. You can see the amount of construction, you can see the amount of destruction, you can see the impacts of dewatering, and you can also see here, gentlemen, the impacts on our imperiled species. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Julia Lambert. Peter Spahn. If staff could change the slides now back to our county presentation, it'd be great.
Good morning. My name's Peter Spahn. I live at 17100 Wobegon Drive, directly across from the site. I'm reaffirming and bringing forward my own prior testimony and comments and prior testimony and any written documents of all participants from DCI 2023-00011 at the HEX and BoCC meetings and the DCI 2018-10023 hearings. I'm in agreement with adopting and bringing forward the spoken and written testimony and evidence opposing this matter by myself and others in public meetings, rezonings, rehearings, and other deliberations given in the past and given today. I wish it all to be considered. And I was a petitioner in case number 24-CA-1479. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Serge Thomas.
Good morning, Commissioner. For the record, my name is Serge Thomas. I also live near the facility, the water treatment facility. I live about 4,000 feet away from this facility that is constructed currently. I live on 17850 DeVore Lane, Fort Myers, Florida. I'm reaffirming and bringing forward my own prior testimony and comment and the prior testimony and written document of all participants from DCI 2023-00011 at the HEX and BoCC and DCI 2018-10023 hearings. I'm in agreement with adopting and bringing forward the spoken and written testimony and evidence opposing this matter by myself and by others in public hearings, meetings, rezoning, rehearing, or other deliberation, given in the past and given today. I'm adopting this and bringing it all forward for consideration. And again, I'm petitioner in case number 24-CA-1479. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Last speaker is Patty Whitehead. Patty here. At this time, we'll close the public comment on the list of participants, and we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries. Thank you. Next case.
Good morning, Kate Burgess, Principal Planner with the Lee County Planning Section. This last case today is a privately initiated future land use map amendment and water map amendment known as State Road 31 Civic 10. This property is only 9.5 acres, but it is, because of the water map amendment, it does not qualify as a small scale, so this will follow the state's expedited state review, so we'll have 2 hearings with the Board of County Commissioners. This is the transmittal hearing of those two. So the applicant is requesting to amend the future land use of a 9.58 acre subject property located on the west side of State Road 31, just north of the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly known as the Lee Civic Center. They are requesting to change the future land use from rural to outlying suburban and incorporate the subject property into the Lee County Utilities future water service area map. They have submitted a companion rezone that is DCI 2025-00005. So the first request is to amend map 1A. That's the future land use map as depicted on this slide. The map on the left shows the existing conditions with the subject property within the rural future land use category. The map on the right shows the proposed in the outlying suburban. This would be the first property on the west side of State Road 31 to go to outlying suburban. However, there are quite a few on the other side of State Road 31. The second request is to add the subject property to Lee County's future water service area. This is depicted in map 4A of the Lee plan. The property owner has also gotten a letter of availability from FGUA stating their ability to provide sewer service to this property. So their intention is to connect to water and sewer. However, FGUA's was closer for sewer service. So the staff report provides a full analysis of the amendment's consistency with the Lee plan. I'm not going to go over all of them in detail. So I'm just going to hit on a couple points. So the subject property is currently designated with the rural future land use category, which is described in Lee Plan Policy 1.4.1. The subject property has supported both non-residential and residential uses since the 1970s. FDOT's expansion of State Road 31, Bayshore Road, and the 31 drawbridge, along with the private development of utility and public safety infrastructure along the 31 corridor, and the property's proximity to Greenwell Regional Park provide the property with capital improvements and services that are not typical of the rural future land use category. The applicant has requested to change the future land use to outlying suburban, which is described as rural in nature with access to some centralized infrastructure that is planned or already in place. The subject property and its existing conditions is more similar to the outlying suburban than the existing rural future land use category. The subject property is within the Bayshore Community Plan. This is sort of what differentiates it from what's on the other side of the street. All of that is in the North Olga and the Northeast Lee Community Plan area. This property is in the Bayshore Community Plan area. However, there were no inconsistencies with the request in the Bayshore Community Plan area goals and objectives. It should also be noted that Lee Plan 1 requires all residential development exceeding 2.5 units per acre and non-residential development exceeding a specific square footage to connect to water and sewer. To fully realize the density or intensity potential of the outlying suburban future land use category, the property owner would need to access central water and sewer services. Additionally, the subject property is within a basin management action plan, a BMAP. So the proposed incorporation of the subject property into the LCU future water service area map is consistent with state statutes regarding utility expansion within BMAPs and Lee Plan Objective 4.1. As previously stated, there are no issues within Goal 18, that is the Bayshore Community Plan area goal, and it is consistent with the other elements of the Lee Plan. So the proposed amendment, based on the analysis included in the staff report and this presentation, the staff and the LPA recommended transmittal of the proposed amendment. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is here if you would like to see a presentation from them, and I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions for staff at this time?
I'll gladly move the staff recommendation for BoCC to transmit the proposed amendments.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second? Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this item? Okay, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Marcia Ellis for the record. And I'm so happy that it worked out that I'm here today so that I can comment on this, because I think it's very important that we keep in mind our comprehensive planning and the legacy that that sets for us as a community as our guiding vision. And that any changes that we make to the comprehensive plan really are a moment for pause, right? Because we don't want to take those things lightly. I think it's really interesting to think about the number of comprehensive plan changes that our community has experienced and take a moment to also reflect on that in terms of, are we in line with state norms, you know, in terms of how we respect and how we implement our conservation, not our conservation, but our comprehensive plan. In this particular case, we do have assets, community assets with the Civic Center and the parks that are nearby. And I think that that really creates a greater responsibility from our governance to think about the uses that are going in near those resources and asking ourselves, wow, is maybe having a VIX painting headquarters, nothing personal against that, you know, is that really does that really reflect our community values when we do have other commercial spaces around? We're also potentially, you know, bringing a lot of, you know, paint and stuff into the floodplain because this is coastal high hazard area. We know it floods. That's the reason we couldn't use the Civic Center as a shelter. So we have some responsibilities to really think about the long-term impacts of whittling away at the comprehensive plan that was set there for very good reasons. I think that we have a responsibility to push back a little bit and give it a little bit more scrutiny, given our own investments, the public's investments that you guys are safeguarding for us out there, and that we also, you know, are not just letting the first thing that rolls into consideration be the thing that we go with, right? Anytime that we are taking away rural open space in the coastal high hazard and floodplain, we are increasing our risk. The most appropriate use of the floodplain is for it to be in conservation use and for it to be in rural use because that is open and it provides absorption and it provides protection for our community. I don't want to see new commercial uses introduced in this area when we have a viable option that fits the compatibility of the surrounding area. I think we should stay with that. Thank you.
Any more public comment on this case? Okay, we'll come back to the board. Any other discussion?
Just real quickly, Mr. Chairman, could you, Mr. Mora, just kind of elaborate a little bit on the process that you guys go through to review these things? Because when you listen to public testimony, sometimes it sounds like you guys maybe just got a sketch on the back of a napkin and you're like, yeah, this looks like a good idea, let's approve it. I think the process is a little more in-depth than that, right?
Absolutely, Commissioner. For this particular case, Katie's going to walk you through the steps we took as a staff.
Okay, thank you.
So for comp plan amendments, well, for any development, you have to go through all of the different levels of entitlements and approvals and whatnot. And so for this one, what we're looking at is the overall compatibility of the request, because we obviously have to balance private property rights with what the county wants to see on all of these properties. And so, or what the vision is of the county for the long term. So for this, we look at the comp plan as a whole, you know, what is the request and how reasonable is it on this particular property? From there, you know, if we're looking at the future land use, that's how we determine whether or not the proposed future land use is appropriate in that location. From there, they will have to go through probably a rezone, because right now it's AG2, in order to do the use that they would like to do. They have requested a commercial plan development. So that goes through review where they look at all of the uses, all of the potential environmental impacts, all of the things. They create a master concept plan that is binding, legally binding, so they have to adhere to it in the future for their development. Once they get through the zoning process, they have to go through the DO process, and then once the DO, which looks at all of the engineering requirements, so all of the nitty-gritty, how much stormwater, how much paving, how much, all of the math that goes into development is what happens in the development order stage, and then it goes to building permits. So this is a really lengthy process. We got this application in probably 9 months ago. It's gone through 3 rounds of review. planning looked at it, environmental, natural resources, zoning, development services. We have a whole list of reviewers that looks at all of our applications. So it's a really comprehensive look at the request and whether or not it's appropriate.
So 9 months, and we're still basically at like the halfway point. We're at the transmittal hearing. It's then got to come back for an adoption hearing, got to have a zoning hearing. So it's funny because, guys, when I grew up, it was America is a free country. And in a free country, you could probably even buy like a piece of land with your own money. But it's not as if you can buy a piece of land with your own money and then use that piece of land. You got to go through all sorts of hoops to ask the government for permission to use the piece of land that you bought with your own money in a free country. And so I want to take a moment to say this because to me, it's important that people know there is a process that is protecting the environment, that is protecting the character of our community, that is making sure that as new developments come online, they're compatible and that they're consistent with the development pattern that we want, that none of this is just made arbitrarily or willy-nilly as it's sometimes characterized in public comment, that we really do put a tremendous amount of thought and work. And honestly, owners of property have to spend a tremendous amount of their own money and time to get through the process too. And so I just think that all of that happens, but the only thing that ever really truly makes the headlines is just the one hearing that usually is over, you know, in a morning. But really, it took 9 months to get to this morning. So that's the point I just wanted to put on the record.
And one thing you said, the word compatibility, and something I know staff looks at this, is we approved the project 2 cases ago, Secretary property across the street. And then I think 4 years ago, we approved 300,000 square feet of commercial north of this property on the west side of 31. And as 31 grows, as you pass through the area to go to future 3 Publixes at Babcock and the hundreds of new businesses there at Babcock, this whole area is going to change. This is why those residents and our prior Commissioner Greenwell saw that coming with the expansion of the road. This is not going to be obviously it's going to be a freeway. I mean, this is why you want the infill there along the roadway to reduce urban sprawl. So again, thank you for your work, though.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I appreciate it. And again, to clarify, this is in black and white on our screen right now. It says our findings that it's consistent with the community plan. It's not inconsistent with the community plan area. It's not out of character, and they provided all the documentation. I think it's very thorough, and I appreciate the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries. And we are adjourned. Thank you.